Hey guys, Brett here, directors. Hey, thanks for joining today's live event. So today I wanted to talk about home equity. What is home equity? How do you measure it? What can you do with it? What's the value around it for you guys? So, kicking off for us guys, what is equity? Ultimately the simple equation here is just what do we owe on the house versus what it's worth today. So let's say we have a home, it's worth 700,000 and we owe 300,000 on a mortgage. Well, our equity is the difference, 400,000. Oftentimes I have clients think, well, does it have to do with what I originally paid for the house? No, it's what's the current value today. Hey, does it have to do with what I put down originally? No, again, it's just what's the equity position, the debt versus the value today. So it's really based on where we sit today for you guys. Now, luckily, in most cases for you, property values are increasing, which is awesome. Your monthly payment is slowly chipping away at that mortgage. So those are both ways to increase the equity. It's not going to be just what you pay down the mortgage, and it's not going to be just what the value goes up. It's the combination of those two things that help increase equity over time. Now, it's a huge and important factor to understand. If we look at American wealth, the majority of American wealth is in equity. I think most people, have more equity than they might have in physical cash or other investments. So it's a major component of American wealth. What's interesting is, though, when somebody has money in the bank or money in a stock account or money in their retirement, they think, hey, I have that money I can use at some point. Interestingly enough, for a lot of Americans, they don't always think about their equity. Yeah, I have a home, but I can't touch it unless I sell. It's not the case, guys. Now, it's an important piece to say, hey, if we need to do something, we want to pay off that debts, invest, buy a rental property, pay for college, whatever it is, if we're thinking of, hey, I need to use some of my overall assets. I think most people, again, look at, hey, I'm going to need to use cash or pull out of my retirement or go get a new loan. They don't always think about the equity they have in their home, which can be huge, to use it. So I wanted to talk about a few different ways that you can tap into it. Now, does it make sense? There's a million different factors. And of course, you can always connect with a financial advisor. We're happy to chat from a mortgage standpoint on that to evaluate it, but it's absolutely an option that you should explore. Personally, it's been a great option for me to help out in a million different ways. So a couple things, guys. Let's say if we want to look at accessing it, some of the ways, and you've probably heard of this, is a home equity loan or a home equity line of credit. Those are two different ways to access. And essentially what those are second mortgages. So let's go back to our example. I own a home of 700. I owe 300,000. I have 400,000 of equity. Well, if you added a 100,000 or a $200,000 HELOC, home equity line of credit, that would allow you to take some of that 400,000 out. So you can pull money out. Now, ultimately, say we did a 200,000 line of credit, you would now have a home worth 700. You would have a first mortgage of 300,000, and you would have that second mortgage HELOC of 200,000. So you still have 200,000 additional equity in the home remaining, but you've now got access to 200 of it from your line of credit. So that's a great tool. Now, I've had clients use that for really anything they want to. Guys, it's your money. You can use that HELOC just like it's money in your bank. Now, I always caution clients to say, hey, if we're tapping into our equity, just as if you were taking money out of your bank or your 401k, I would really hope it's for something that's, wise, such as, hey, covering college expenses for kids, let's say, or investing to say, hey, how can I continue to build wealth? Personally, I've used a lot of equity to go buy real estate. To me, I don't look at it as a negative that I'm taking equity out of one house. Well, guys, I'm putting it in the next. If I look at my balance sheet, yes, I owe more on this house, but now I have the equity over on this house. It's a tool to acquire and allow me to have multiple properties appreciate at once. So it is a great, great tool out there for us. There can be a million different ways people do it. Now, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of clients over the years take it and burn it on, cars and toys and things. Now, guys, it is your money. It's your equity. You can do what you want. But I think it's just important to think about, hey, this is an asset of mine. Do I really want to deplete that with a potentially depreciating asset purchase versus an appreciating or, again, paying off high interest debt? So that's number one, a HELOC. In the exact same vein, guys, to access equity, we can do a cash out refi. The difference in this example is instead of saying we have a 300,000 mortgage, we're adding behind it a 200,000 HELOC. We may say, hey, let's just redo one single $500,000 mortgage, netting us 200,000 out. So again, operates in a similar way. There's pros and cons to each depending on the terms of your loan and what your goals are. But once again, it gives you access to 200,000 in this example. Now, there's different levels of how much we can access based on property type, loan to value ratios, credit scores, etc. But it still would allow us to access that. So that can be another one. The last way I wanted to briefly touch on, a little bit different, is, for certain folks at a certain age, you can do a reverse mortgage, or they call it a home equity conversion mortgage. And essentially it's saying you can tap into some of that home equity to either pull out funds for updates to the property or other things as we described, or simply to eliminate a monthly mortgage payment. So for some folks on a fixed income retired stage, it can be a great way to use your equity to say, hey, instead of being fixed income, having this great house I love with very little loan and a ton of equity, but I can't really afford to do many things because my monthly income, my monthly payment's tight. Guys, you can use your equity to offset that payment or to go out and enjoy life. So again, I want you to think of your equity like it's sitting in a retirement account. Doesn't mean we should spend it, crazily or wisely, but it is an asset you have. You can tap into it to use for other things. So again, I know I mentioned a few things like paying off college or paying for colleges, just a big one now with college expenses I see a lot of clients use. Obviously, for a positive side to invest, we can go buy more real estate or do other investments with it to help kind of grow our net worth. But the last one, again, that's very frequent is, paying off revolving debt or other debts, for example. So I have a lot of clients who unfortunately have seen credit cards get up into the 20s or 30% rates. Well, guys, if we have great equity, we can be borrowing, in single digit rates to pay off a 30% credit card. That can be a huge move for you guys. So again, I think it's concerning sometimes when they're majorly isolated to say they got all this equity and they're paying a ton of money at 30% over here. It's okay to at least have a conversation of, should I move some capital over, use that equity to wipe out that debt, and let myself get ahead for us. So those are a few things for us, guys. As always, feel free to reach out. Happy to chat through questions for you. But at the end of the day, home equity is a great tool. It's your asset. You should be able to use it. I think ultimately tapping into it, sometimes there's a lot of negativity around it. But remember, not all debt is a bad thing. Debt is also referred to as leverage. Leverage is a good thing. It gives us power to do things. Debt used in the right way is great. So for example, I'm leveraging a property to buy another property. That's going to let me have two properties or more and then appreciate with it. So at the end of the day, guys, think about it. Most major businesses out there, they have debt. They use leverage. When done properly, it is a great tool to help you out. So feel free, again, to reach out. Happy to chat through details. I hope that gives you a few updates. And other than that, we'll talk to you soon.